Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
The question of Sister Nashwa is regarding the miracles of the prophets. She says that we know that God is able to do anything, but He does everything according to the laws of nature. But what she wants to understand is how was Hazrat Jesus born without a father, and if this is a supernatural miracle from God. And the second part of her question is she wants to understand the wisdom. Why does God make the miracles of the prophets in Holy Quran seems like supernatural miracles? And what is the wisdom behind this?
Supernatural miracles?
It seems as if it's, when we read the Holy Quran, it seems as if it's supernatural, like the rod of Hazrat Musa.
Yes, I understand now the point. You see, first of all, the understanding of miracle has to be corrected. The word, I have spoken on this subject at length and in depth repeatedly so many times now that I can't repeat all that I have already said in this short session. First of all, I advise you to get those cassettes which are available here and pass them on to the lady who has asked this question. She can listen to them, and inshallah all the aspects of the question which are bothering her will be resolved. But because she is here and she has asked a question, briefly I'll answer this. Miracle does not mean that God makes a law and breaks it. That is a reflection upon God. It is not an attribute to God. Any sane person who makes laws and knows at times he will have to deviate from those laws always leaves exceptions. And they are incorporated in the legal code so that without breaking the law, he meets the extraordinary situations and resolves them satisfactorily. How could one expect of God to have created law of nature himself, yet having left no cushioning, no alternative possibilities, so that when some crisis arrives which cannot be resolved by the ordinary law, God has to break His own law Himself? That is a situation totally inconceivable from our point of view. As we understand the logic of the Quran and the logic of God's personality, we totally reject this concept. Hazrat Masih Maud, speaking on the same subject, has mentioned that laws have many tiers. Some laws are known to man. Some overriding laws are still there but unknown to man. So a miracle appears to be a miracle to an ordinary person when he knows only the superficial laws which are known to man of that period and does not know the other set of laws which are also laws, which don't break these laws but are overriding. The example which Hazrat Masih has not given but I have been giving, I can give here once again. The law of magnetism. The law of magnetism was unknown to the people of some thousand years ago, and even people of a few hundred years ago in some parts of the world. They know only the law of gravity, that the earth must pull everything down to itself. This is how they understand the law of gravity. Now, if a magnetic field was created above a person and who was wearing also a metal which responded to that magnetic field, and he was lifted, the people who did not understand the phenomenon of magnetism would consider it a miracle in the sense that the law is broken, while no law is broken. Gravity is also a law of nature and magnetism is also a law of nature, and one law put against the other follows overriding principle that whichever acts more strongly would win. But the laws will not be broken. Similarly, in earlier times, many things about the chemistry and physics were unknown, and people who knew those things in advance of the age would be able to bring about certain tricks through their knowledge. And people would understand that he is master of the law, he breaks laws, while the fact would be that he is not breaking any laws. So God so ordains that those laws of nature are brought to operation, which normally are not active. And under the influence of those superior and more powerful laws, the weaker laws submit. And this is a law in itself. In the struggle between matter and life, the unbreakable, overwhelming, overriding law is this, that whichever law operates more strongly will subdue the law which operates less strongly. So in this way, miracles appear to be a breach of nature, while they are not a breach of nature. You know, in the history of Morocco, there is one recorded fact that once some magician, so-called magician in Morocco, started showing some very interesting tricks, which he presented in a way that he was a holy man, and because of his holiness he could conquer nature and show this freak phenomenon. Now he used these tricks politically and started declaring to the Moroccans that the French rule is against the will of God and it is the rule of devil, so you must rebel against it. When the French government was informed of this, the central French government, that this is happening and it's creating great problems. Actually, people begin to believe in that man as a holy person while he is just conjuring up tricks. And because of the influence on the people of these tricks, they are now becoming openly rebellious. So the French government did a very wise thing. They asked for some better and more knowledgeable and more competent magician, French magician, to report to the government, and out of some, one was chosen. And he was dispatched post haste to Morocco. Wherever this holy man started showing his tricks, he countered him by superior tricks and said, "You are less holy than I am. I can counter some of your tricks and show you some tricks which you can't repeat." So, because of this counter false holiness, the ultimate problem was ultimately resolved. Now, what was the impression of the people who were looking at these things from their lower vantage point? They looked up to this phenomena as supernatural in both cases. But neither was supernatural. So we reject the concept of supernaturalism in the world of God. God is all powerful. He is all knowledgeable. The real miracle is that when some people are weak, and if you feed some facts into the computer regarding their confrontation, the weak people of God, their confrontation with those who are all powerful against them, the normal result that the computer should show would be that the weaker will be obliterated and the powerful will win. The miracle is that there is unseen hand of power, unseen by the people, which is on the side of the weak. And because that hidden hand of power is the strongest, so despite the fact that the law is not broken, yet the weak appear to win. This always happens without fail. Every time when a prophet of God is sent. So the miracle, the true miracle is the victory of the weak over the powerful. The supreme law that the powerful will always win and the weak will always be obliterated seems to be reversed in this case. But here again I remind you that this law is not broken. The fact is that the powerful hand of God remains unseen. But the weak win not because they are weak and still they win. They win because the hand of God is with them. This is the philosophy which has been explained by the Holy Quran itself. In that verse of the Holy Quran of Surah Al-Hajj, where the believers are permitted to defend themselves with sword against their oppressors. There, this phenomenon has been explained in so many words. أُذِنَ لِلَّذِينَ يُقَاتَلُونَ بِأَنَّهُمْ ظُلِمُوا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى نَصْرِهِمْ لَقَدِيرٌ. They are weak, that is why they have been transgressed against. And they are permitted to fight, not to be destroyed. Because إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى نَصْرِهِمْ لَقَدِيرٌ. Because God is all powerful, and the all powerful God is on the side of the weaker. So this still remains a miracle to those who don't understand this phenomenon. I have read many, a Western scholar express this with wonder, that everything said and done still is inexplicable. How the weak forces which were siding with Prophet Muhammad became so overwhelming and emerged victorious over much greater forces and powers within Arabia and outside Arabia. So with this I hope you will understand that the miracle is not breaking of a law. The miracle is the operation of an unseen law by a people who know that this person whom they consider a liar has no power over this law and has no knowledge of any other law. As such, when he shows something which is ununderstandable by the ordinary people, then they consider it to be a miracle, a معجزہ, or whatever you call it, an ayat, whatever you call it. So in case of Hazrat Musa and others, in case of the splitting of moon, there has to be a scientific explanation behind it. And that explanation is sometimes given in the Holy Quran. And sometimes it is not given, so people still don't understand. There are two, and now I'll turn to the miracle of Moses, two miracles of Moses. They are the shining of the hand as bright white, without defect, without blemish. Not like that of a leper, but that of a healthy man, a hand which shines with light. And the other is the destruction of the magic of his opponents, who threw their ropes and made them appear as snakes. Now, in the first case, God has not explained how it happened. In the case of the hand, which is put in the hands or under the armpit and then extended, and suddenly the people begin to see it as shining with a brilliant light. That has not been explained in the Quran. But the second معجزہ has been explained. And that satisfies human intellect that what happened was not a break of law, but the operation of a law which was not understood by the people at that time. The Holy Quran says, number one, وَسَحَرُوا أَعْيُنَ النَّاسِ. Their magic was not applied to the ropes themselves. The ropes remained ropes. But the magic spell was cast on the eyes, on the sight. And in the second place, it says that they imagined, the people who were observing, the Holy Quran says, they imagined the ropes to be snakes. So that shows they were not turned into snakes. That means there is another law that human mind can work on other human minds through mesmerism, through hypnotism. And this has become a reality, a scientific reality now. At that time it was not understood. So relatively at that time, a thing which was a miracle, if repeated today, will not be a miracle anymore. So whether the miracles belong to Moses or anybody else, the fact remains that those miracles were beyond the power of the person who was showing them. That is how they led to God. On the one hand, now this should be understood very clearly, on the one hand were trained magicians, the very cream of the entire magician population of Egypt, who knew the art, who had learned the art from their childhood, and they had no equal in this realm of magic in the entire Egypt. And everybody knew, Pharaoh inclusive, that Moses had no knowledge of magic. So he was positively sure that if he has learned a small trick, he would be defeated by these great magicians. Now the magicians also knew full well that Moses had no knowledge of magic. So when they saw that Musa threw his staff and suddenly their magic spell was broken, then they understood that the power which is working is that of God, not that of Moses himself. So despite the fact that he also did not break a law of nature by throwing that staff, but suddenly the spell which was cast on the eyes got shattered. And that also happens, this is logical. A superior willpower breaks the inferior willpower. So it was the will of God, in fact, which broke that, and the staff must have worked as a sort of catalytic agent. No, the noise, the throwing of the staff, that must have created that noise which broke the spell under the will of God. So because this has been explained in the Holy Quran, we understand from this demonstration that other miracles are also explainable on the same principle. Some we know, some we don't know. For some we offer explanations, for some we cannot. But in principle we know that with the passage of time, with more knowledge gained, a time would come when all these miracles will be explained by greater knowledge of science. But still they will remain miracles. Because the person on whose hands these miracles appeared had no knowledge of that science which is known to us today or will be known tomorrow to man. And yet he was able to perform that. Now you understand, I hope you fully understand this answer, which I hope covers both the aspects of the question. Ms. Maha, I'm addressing you.
Yes, it's clear now. Somebody wants to ask another question.
Oh yes, please, yes. But it is clear to you, perhaps even before you ask this question?
Yes.
I'm asking about your friend.
Yes, it's
She's satisfied?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Good.